After we saw fast speeds at Daytona and a crash fest of the Daytona 500, we are now at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And after this past weekend, we saw a dominant performance by Christopher Bell. We saw a record performance by none other than Kyle Busch in the trucks, and a guy that battled back a stomach virus to end up winning the race on Sunday in the Monster Energy Cup race at Atlanta. Now, what are we going to do this weekend? We're going to preview and recap this past weekend from Atlanta, and also preview Sin City, and not to mention the next 3 races on the West Coast. He's Chris. My name is Corey, and this is the C&J Speedway Review. And welcome back, folks, to the C&J Speedway Review. My name is Corey Huffnagel, and tonight we are going to recap Atlanta this past weekend. And we saw some really good racing this past weekend, and not to mention it was also the first race with the new rules package on Sunday. And so my take on it, we saw some good racing on Sunday. Restarts, it was kind of exciting at first. Everybody was all in like a big pack. But the finish I thought was pretty good, and I really thought Martin Truex Jr. was gonna run down the 2 car, but he only needed one more lap from what his interview had on Sunday, and all I could just say is Truex, he came up short, but there's always next race, and so let's go to the hotline now as Chris is trying to adjust his camera, trying to adjust it to the great maximum point, and Chris, what did you think about the race in Atlanta? And do you think this package made it pretty exciting on Sunday?
From the tree-lined peach groves of Hampton, Georgia, many, many competitors went out and battled through blistering heat and mighty winds to give us the great racing we saw this past. Oh, sorry, I was watching a documentary earlier. I thought it was great. Thank you. I thought the new aero package on the Monster Energy Cup Series was phenomenal. And when we talk about that Cup race, I cannot help but just be complimentary about not only that, but the horsepower that were underneath the engines, coupled with the new aero package. Those restart speeds were phenomenal. They were able to stay together. I think the largest lead that anybody went out to was about a 4.3. And then, of course, everybody gets bunched up from a stupid caution, which we will talk about later on. But, man, I loved it. I had to listen to the doubleheader. But from what I heard, fantastic racing. And one of those races was brought to us by the fantastic folks at Performance Racing Network. And the other one, well, you know the rest.
I just don't want to admit it, huh?
Man, don't get me started, man. The lawyers are still drawing up the paperwork. I'm not going to be happy for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the package this weekend, I thought it was exciting too. And I mean, Atlanta, it was a good race, even though it was a track that was worn out, that hasn't been repaved in a really long time. I really want to see what this package does at every single track this season. Now, I know Las Vegas is kind of a smooth track, a little bit worn out, but kind of smooth as well. And then you go to the 1 mile at Phoenix. Then you go to another rough track, which is the 2 mile at Auto Club Speedway. And then, of course, you also got Martinsville and then Bristol and then Richmond. So I really want to see what this package does at every track. And quite frankly, like I said before, I really think this package is going to be a huge success, pretty much to the 1.5 miles and the 2 miles.
And in the races you just mentioned, I think the only track that is not going to be affected really by the new rules package is Martinsville. The half-mile paperclip shaped track where I think your top speed is 90 going into the quarter, and then you duck it down to about 45. Then you swing back out of the corner. They may hit 100 and change if I'm not mistaken, but it's just very close quarters, bumping and banging. It's just a matter of real estate rather than speed at Martinsville. But every other track, whether it's Richmond, Las Vegas, Phoenix, wherever, It's going to be a fun time watching that new aero package. I was impressed.
I was impressed too, and yeah, I mean, I think NASCAR. I want to say kind of hit it at a home run at first, but I'm going to give it, I'd say like 10 races and see how this does this year.
All right, I'll buy the 10 race thing, but I think, home run right out of the gate, it's only going to get better.
I do agree.
So, Mr. Huffnagel, do you have any news, notes, and information for us to digest before we dive into the Atlanta recap?
So, when I did the whole like Denny Hamlin saga last week, so there was one little rumor that came out just about a week ago. It was on one of the YouTube shows that I was watching.
There
I
is
think
no
just
other YouTube show but ours.
right, but
Knock it off.
but anyways, so I was watching there was a rumor saying that the Daytona 500 may not be the season opener. I'd say after like 2021 or so forth, because let's remember, guys, so NASCAR has, the whole track sanctioning agreement deal until after like 2020. And then after that, then NASCAR pretty much decides, all right, what are we going to do with all the racetracks and everything? Like, are we going to bunch them up together and everything else and so forth? Now, there's a lot of questions that are going to come to this. Is NASCAR going to have a long schedule, or are we going to have a short schedule? Are we going to have tracks that we've never been to before, we haven't been to in a really long time? There was also a rumor saying that, Homestead, Miami was going to get a second race, and I thought, all right, stop, flag on the field, whatever else and so forth. There is no way. And honestly, like, I had to disagree, like, to the guy that was running this YouTube show. There is no way that NASCAR is going to get a second Homestead race. And the problem is, where would you put it? Because, then you have to, like, jumble up all these other racetracks depending on how many races of a season you would have. And honestly, like, with the Homestead race, I would keep it to just one, and I would keep it to, the championship race, every year, because it's a lot of drama that goes with it. And pretty much, the season starts and ends in Florida. But there was also a time where, the Daytona 500 wasn't the first race of the season. In fact, like, the season would start like at Riverside at the road course. And then there was also times where, it would also start at like a different track and everything else. And then Daytona 500 would be the second race of the season. Now, honestly, I would say this. If you put the Daytona 500 in the second race of the season, I won't even mind it quite a bit. But here's what I think NASCAR should do if NASCAR decides, all right, if we don't have the Daytona 500 the first race of the season, what should we do? So my opinion is, I think NASCAR should have Las Vegas as the season opener, and I think this is what NASCAR should do. So they should do it just like what the IndyCar season does. Have the biggest race, like on Memorial Day weekend. So, for instance, the IndyCar series has the Indianapolis 500 like the mid part of the season. So they wait until then, to have like all the big races and everything and so forth. So that's what I think, they should do for the Daytona 500. One day they should do it for like Memorial Day weekend and everything else and so forth. So I would say that, the whole entire month of May, you'd have the dual races, you have the Clash, you'd have the qualifying races, and then qualifying everything that's leading up to the 500. Just like what the Indy 500 does. You have qualifying, you got bump day, you got this and that, everything else and so forth. But I'm really interested to see what NASCAR does to this schedule in 2021. And quite honestly, here's my other question. What about Iowa? Iowa needs a cup race, and I bet there's a lot of racetracks that deserve a cup race. And then there's also the question of what are we going to do about midweek racing? Because there's another scenario that's going to be in there possibly in 2021, and the question is, what racetrack is going to have a midweek race, especially on a Wednesday? So quite honestly, like, I'm really excited, with this schedule, and I'm going to be interested to see what they do to the schedule, but I'm going to say this. If NASCAR does this schedule in 2021, what I think they should do is they should have 36 races in all three series. So not only in Cup, but also in Xfinity and the Truck Series as well.
Let me ask you a question while I got you here.
Yeah.
Why don't we change Christmas too? In fact, we're going to move Halloween to September while it's warmer so the kids can go out and celebrate Halloween. Are you up for that too? Man, Daytona is tradition. It's in my lifetime, going back to the first race I ever watched back in 1980, it's the first race of the year. This is where it all starts. And like you said, I know for years Atlanta was the last race. Then they expand the schedule, and Homestead Miami Speedway got the last race of the year, and it's been just fine. There's no need to tinker with success. I love the fact that it's in February. You're looking for a nice winter break, you get some tickets to Daytona, you fly down, or if you live there, it's just a jump, depending on where you live. I lived in Ocala, so it was only an hour to my immediate east. I think I'm doing my math right, or my directions, as it were. Yes, because Tampa's to the west. You know, it's just tradition. And how hot were you years ago? I don't know if were you watching when they took the Labor Day date away from Darlington?
Quite honestly, I was kind of upset that, they took away the Labor Day race at Darlington until NASCAR decided, oh, why don't we bring it back because it's pretty much tradition.
Exactly. So why mess with tradition? Look, you can interchange the championship race, and I think the racing at Homestead Miami Speedway in the last 5 to 6 years during championship weekend, going back even for just let's just say 5 years, going back to 2014, the beginning of this new playoff system, where the top four guys are battling for the crown in the race with everybody else. It's the top finisher. We've had great racing 14, 15, 16, 17, and now this past year with Joey Logano winning in 18. It's been fun. Don't mess with success. Now, you asked the question, well, Iowa deserves a date, and there are other tracks that deserve a date. Well, there are two races that have no use for me whatsoever on this particular schedule. Get the hell out of Pocono. Give Iowa a date and maybe throw a second date at Homestead. Why not? But just get Pocono off the schedule. The most boring race. I would rather watch a slug die when you pour salt on it than I would watch Pocono. Just boring.
If there's a guy that has, like, I don't know, maybe $1.3 billion that could refurbish and redo North Wilkesboro Speedway and have that back on
Ooh,
the Cup
good
Series
call.
schedule, I'd love to see that happen. And then not to mention, if they could also redo Rockingham and put that on the schedule, that'd be awesome too. And then also, go to Gateway or O'Reilly Raceway Park, and of course, go to the road course up in Canada. I'm talking about Mossport, which is, I have to say, probably the most exciting road course that we've seen in the truck series so far. And I will say this, I would have NASCAR in Pocono, but I would give it to, like, probably one race. And then Kansas, I would also give it one race as well, because I don't know, like, what's the purpose of having, having two races at Kansas. Yes, I get it that they have the Hollywood Casino, which of course everybody goes to the casinos for gambling or whatever it is. I understand, when Texas got a second race back in 2005. I get that. But the one thing I think NASCAR should do, to the 2021 schedule and beyond, is also do the playoffs. So what I think they should do is they should shuffle up the playoff races like every year. So don't do like the same playoff races you do like every single year. Like, throw some different tracks in there. Yeah, do the super speedways and do the road course. Do the Roval. I thought that was a success as well. But man, do some other racetracks, that are very interested on this too. And I think that'd be very interesting.
Well, let me throw a scenario out here at you. How upset do you think the drivers would be if, say, they don't take Pocono off, but they do add one race? So now you have a 37 race season. How do you think the drivers would feel? One more chance at glory, right?
I'd probably say one more chance.
Okay.
I guess you could say that.
Okay. So instead of giving it to one track, say Iowa or Gateway, why not have a wild card race? Now, all these tracks that don't have a cup date throw in a bid, much like a Super Bowl bid. They towns all over cities all over America bid for the Super Bowl every year. Strangely enough, I found out through the Wall Street Journal, cities also do this for WrestleMania, which I thought was odd. They're bidding on wrestling. But hey, they get it, and their town reaps the windfall to the tune of $1 billion every year. New Orleans, New York, Los Angeles. Why not have a wild card race? So at the beginning of, say, the 2020 season, you're bidding for 2021. Say you have Iowa, Road America, the Milwaukee Mile, O'Reilly Raceway Park. Maybe just throw their names in a hat and you pick one. Nobody has an advantage. Why? Because the Cup guys don't run here on the regular. Whereas every year they have stats, data, and telemetry that tells them, oh, we're going to Kansas, here's our telemetry from last year. Here's what we have to improve on. We have this new, they have all the information and data they need. But if they went to Road America, they don't have that. And it's another road course, which I think is great. More road courses, the better. I think there should be more than 3. I'm glad there's 3 now. But exciting. Okay, so in 2022, we are going to da 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 da. The name comes out of the hat, or they draw it and they say, okay, we're going to whatever the place is in Mexico, the road course in Mexico.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How cool would that be? They ran races in Japan previous to the Daytona 500 years ago.
Yep.
And it was amazing. Yes, you had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it if you wanted to see it live on ESPN, but that was part of the appeal. You knew, oh, I'm taking the day off. We're getting up at 5 a.m. to watch the, was it the Suzuki something or other?
Yeah, like the Suzuki 300 or whatever it is.
Right, and to see the first race in Japan be won by Rusty Wallace, I was happy to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Of course, it was probably one of the few races I've watched in my lifetime without having a beer. Because it's at 5 in the morning. Who has a beer at 5 in the morning? Unless you've been up since 5 the next evening. But beside the point, I think a wild card race, to your point, gives some of these tracks that don't have cup races, give them a chance to have one. Now, you mentioned North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, 2 tracks from that I loved for years and years. Somebody can fix those up. They'd be great for the wild card date. Or, like you said, keep one race at Pocono for all the purists and have that other date go to one of those 2 North Carolina tracks. It's a beautiful area. The racing was always phenomenal. Look, North Carolina's Raceway, The Rock, Rockingham, loved it. So yeah, if the people at NASCAR, if anybody out there is listening from NASCAR, and maybe we'll throw a tweet out there under the C&J Speedway Review banner, think about that. A 37th race, wild card. Give it to a track that doesn't usually get a cup race. Help the economy in that area, even for one weekend. Have all 3 series go to this track, and let's have some fun. It's going to be something that no one has seen before, especially on the cup level. I know the trucks run at Road America and all these other places, but the cup guys don't. Could you imagine the financial windfall one of these cities would get if the cup guys came to their town for that one race every 4 to 6 years? It'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. And then also don't forget about Nashville as well, and the possibility of the fairgrounds coming back in the near future.
I'm sorry that I did not mention that, because you and I had talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yep, and I know Bruton Smith's son, I think, was in talks with the Speedway and then also the city of Nashville of having NASCAR back in their town, and not only having the fairgrounds, coming back, but also bring back Nashville Super Speedway as well.
Yeah, all of it would be great.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into why is Kyle Larson an idiot, I wanted to make mention. I saw a documentary that you may not be familiar with or fond of, but I watched a documentary about the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who just celebrated his 70th birthday Monday. One of my all-time heroes. That's right, give it to me. Woo!
Woo! It
turns out that years ago, Ric Flair was going to buy into what was it? What did they call it at the time? It was still Ganassi Racing, but Felix Sabates was a half owner of the team.
Right.
Well, Sabates was obviously, if you know the story, he was losing money hand over fist, not because of the racing. He was in other things that caused him to lose a bunch of money. He reached out to Ric Flair and said, "Hey, do you want to buy into Ganassi Racing and possibly help me out?" And it came this close, YouTubers, if you're watching right now, look at my fingers, this close to having Woo Racing, if you will. But I thought that was a neat little tidbit that I could share, that 2 things that I really enjoy could have came together and had just even captured more of my imagination. But right now, and I know we talked about it off air, but I'd like to talk about it on air, Kyle Larson's an idiot. And if you read the story, guys, Kyle Larson is basically saying that Hendrick Motorsports is toying with NASCAR and finding a way to cheat during the inspection process. Oh, Kyle, why? I love the kid. He's a great racer. Of the Eternal Flame and the Goddess of Love upstairs. Had a great weekend this weekend, but don't open your mouth with stuff like that, kid. Seriously, for years and years and years, people saying Hendrick this, Hendrick that, Hendrick cheats, Hendrick. Look, Hendrick is not the Hendrick Motorsports of old. They're struggling.
Yeah.
Yes, they collected some wins last year with Chase Elliott. Yes, Jimmy Johnson came away with a minor victory in Speed Weeks, but they're not doing all that great. When I watched this weekend, there was a couple times where, I think it was William Byron took the lead for a little while, and that was it. You didn't hear a lot from Hendrick. You saw Jimmy Johnson start to weave through the field. You're like, oh, could this be the week? No, it turned out not to be, because somewhere about halfway through the race, they all started to drop backward. So, Mr. Larson, I dig you. You hell of a kid. I'm not going to give up on you, but it's about time that maybe think before you speak. Don't go full Kyle Busch and just speak from the heart. Think before you speak. It's how you get in trouble. And if you think for 1 second, if any one of those Hendrick guys sees the 42 in their rear view and you're looking for a little help, you're not going to get it. Sorry. Racers have long memories, my friend.
They sure do.
And what did you think of this story? You posted it. That's the reason I read it.
See, I kind of thought of it, and I just think to myself, like, I mean, honestly, like, what does Kyle Larson have to prove that, Hendrick Motorsports cheats? I mean, I think this was kind of like a little bit of a misjudging issue. And then, yeah, I mean, of course, that, he lost the race on Sunday. I mean, this was probably the worst. Well, I shouldn't say the worst, but this is probably like the dumbest than I think it was a few years ago when Denny Hamlin said that, he was accusing drivers of taking Adderall, and that pretty much pissed off like everybody. And then for Hamlin to say like, oh, I'm just kidding, that's something that you shouldn't joke about. Now with Kyle Larson's end of the story, the good thing was he apologized. He apologized for what he said, and of course that's the only thing is, actions speak louder than words. But yeah, I really think Larson should be more careful if what he says, but because if that word comes out or if this comes out, boom, then it's all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, and then NASCAR.com, and then Race Hub, and then NASCAR America. Everybody will just pick it up like pretty much wildfire.
Absolutely. And again, especially in the day and age that we are, everything is, up to the minute. I'm sure 15 minutes after he said it, the news broke, and he's like, oh, nuts. I just stuck my foot dead in my mouth. I'm tasting toe right now. I got to do something. And then you go into spin mode. We've seen it over and over again. There are some that are unapologetic, going back to Martin and one last year where he says, he may have won the battle, but he ain't winning the damn war. It turns out he did win the war, Martin. Sorry, again. Hope my daughter's not watching. Hi, Emma. How are you? But, you really have to think before you speak. Where Truex did it was in the heat of the moment. He got bumped. They wiggled. Was that that was Martinsville, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so at least I have my race right. It was in the heat of the moment. You just got out of the car. They're sticking a microphone in your face. There's a camera barrel pointed dead at your face going, hey, Martin, what do you think? Oh, well, this, that, and the third, and he's a jerk, and, hey, he may have won the battle, but he's not going to win the war. They were all singing a different tune at Media Day going into Miami, weren't they? Oh, this is going to be great, and 4 great competitors, and yada, yada, and we're all going to, smile and hug and hold hands walking up to the microphone. It was always different because Truex learned his lesson, much like they all do, unless your name is Kyle Busch.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. By the way, can you move your head to your right for a second? Why is that Jimmy Johnson thing still up on the wall, man? Come on. 2 years, man. 2 years.
Yeah.
Gimmick stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, whatever. So why don't we just dive right in and talk about the truck race from this past weekend in Atlanta?
All right. So as I can get this up right about now. So the truck series.
That's what she said.
So the Gander Outdoor Truck Series race was in Atlanta on Saturday, and this was the second race of the day on Saturday, and it was won by none other than Kyle Busch, who not only scored the win, which of course he was driving my favorite number. He also not only tied, but he also passed Ron Hornaday on the all-time wins list at 52 career wins. So just think about it. He's the all-time wins leader in Xfinity. He's the all-time wins leader now in the Truck Series. He now has 195 wins in all 3 series combined. So I think if you look at it, it just goes to show you that, no matter what vehicle you put him in, he just goes out and wins the race. But of course, there was that one moment where he had a vibration, I think in like the left rear wheel or something like that. So he had to come in and change all four tires, whatever it is. So he starts in the back on the next restart, and I thought, all right, something tells me he's gonna get to the front, I think within like 10 laps. And like 5 laps during the restart, he was picking off guys one by one by one. And I thought, it's just typical Kyle Busch. Like, you start him in the back, it's no problem whatsoever. And then of course, not only he wins the race, but he also sweeps all 3 stages as well. And I guess there was a quote, or I guess it was an interview, I guess Johnny Sauter made on the race after Saturday. So not only he finished second, but he also said in his interview that I guess he was trying to wreck Kyle Busch on the final lap. Now, I get it that these Truck Series regulars, they want to win a race and they want to, punch their ticket into the playoffs going into the September, whatever it is, at like Bristol or wherever it is and so forth. But, I get it. And then, of course, you have the rule with the Cup guys come in and, yes, they win all the races. They take the prize money. They get everything else in between. So be it. But I think if you look at it, this year, what I kind of learned and what I studied is that I think you're only going to see like probably 1 or 2 of the Cup drivers, dip into the Xfinity and the Truck Series this season. I mean, with Kyle Busch, he's only running like 5 races this year. And then after Charlotte, that's it for him. But then, of course, you got the guys in the Xfinity side from the Cup Series that are going to be coming down, like Kyle Busch and then Austin Dillon. And then, of course, the Penske guys are Ryan Blaney, Logano, and Keselowski. I get it. And I mean, you're still going to see the Cup guys win, but my opinion is that this year, I don't think you're going to see him win as much. But I think if you look at it, I would say like right after, when all the Cup guys are done doing all their races in Xfinity and the Truck Series, I think that's when all the regulars are going to perform. And hey, even if the regulars do perform and can beat the Cup guys every Saturday, like in the Truck Series and in Xfinity Series, that'd be awesome too.
Well, I'm going to go to a quote that I heard on the radio feed from Rusty Wallace. As, like you said, there was the vibration. He goes in and he's just weaving through the field to get to the front, and eventually, dominating fashion, won the race. Rusty Wallace said it best. He goes, look, with this new deal where you have championship eligible, let me try that again in English. You have championship eligible drivers. And then you have, back in the day, they called them the Bushwhackers when it was the Busch Series, and they'd go to the Truck Series. They still called them Bushwhackers. The Cup guys that would come down, lead the most laps, take the prize money, kiss the trophy girl, and go home. Rusty Wallace said it best. He goes, with this new deal, let's say Johnny Sauter gets a Cup ride for the weekend. They got to have field filler, or somebody needs a ride, somebody's sick. Sauter fills in, non-championship driver in the Cup Series, and wins the race. Rusty says, you're taking that opportunity away from the guys that are actually running on that circuit from the championship. I get it. My thing with Kyle Busch, and I will repeat it when it goes to now, Joey Logano is now on that list. You also have Kevin Harvick on that list, Brad Keselowski on that list. Kurt Busch every now and again will dip his toes in the waters of the Xfinity or the Truck Series. If you have won a Cup Series championship, stay off the lower level. But to your point, they only do it now 5 times a year. But the same goes. I'm going to use Christopher Bell as the example. Christopher Bell, when he was a Truck Series driver, ran an Xfinity race and won.
Yeah.
Took an opportunity for those championship points, the higher level of championship points. More importantly, he took away the prize money, the trophy, all of the glory from a guy who's actually running that series week to week to take into Homestead, Miami, or where, the whole playoff system. Only 4 guys make it to Homestead. I'm sorry I said that. But Christopher Bell took that opportunity away from somebody. But that, to me, is a lower guy coming up to the next level, winning and saying, I belong here, and now there he is, and he's doing well. But for a guy like Kyle Busch, he have, I think, 53 wins on the Cup level. He have a championship. His resume is Hall of Fame first ballot worthy.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to be down running trucks at all. My opinion, I'm sticking to it. But Good on him. He's now at 195 wins. Somebody had the argument with me in person. Does it, when he reaches 201, does that make him the greatest? No. There are three just ultimate greats. Guys, write this date down. I'm going to say nice about two drivers I really never liked. You have Richard Petty, 200 wins, 7 championships. You have Dale Earnhardt, 79 wins, 7 championships.
76 wins.
You have Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
I missed it. How much? 79?
Dale Earnhardt was 76 wins.
76, you're right.
Yeah.
6, 9, same. Turn them upside down. Jimmy Johnson, 84 wins, 7 championships. Those are the three guys you got to get past. And winning 201 races is all well and good. You've only, how many Busch champion or Xfinity Nationwide Tampax championships did Kyle Busch win?
So if you look at Kyle Busch's stat totals, I mean, yeah, he's won 195 races in all 3 series, but championships wise, he's won 2. So if you add his Cup Series championship in 2015 and then his Xfinity then Nationwide championship in 2009.
Right. So you got a lot of ground to make up. I will say he's a very prolific driver. He is absolutely one of the best. I will go out on a limb and put Kyle Busch in the top 10 right now as we speak. Now, if he retires, then you put him up against, say, someone like Terry Labonte. He of only, I think, 30 to 40 wins, but he has 2 championships. You know, there's a lot of, at the end of the day, everybody wants the trophy or the ring or the prestige, the belt, if you will. Kyle's got a lot of work to do, but he is the winningest driver on the Truck Series. Congratulations. I give him all the credit in the world. Not everybody, if everybody could do it every night, I'd be out there on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started watching the Truck Series. This was like back in like 2007. You know, I remember when it used to be a veteran series, and it's funny too because like I remember like when I used to watch some of the Truck Series races, like I'd always watch Ron Hornaday race, and
yeah,
one of the most phenomenal drivers there was in the Truck Series. I mean, like he was great on restarts, but then not only that, like you take him to any short track like Martinsville or Memphis or Bristol, wherever, like he flat out dominate. And of course, I did see Hornaday win I think 2 championships. When I first started getting into the trucks, and that was also pretty much the year when Kyle Busch started racing in the Truck Series, and from there on, he started winning races after that, and that was pretty much at a time where he was, I wouldn't probably say like mature as what he is now, but then yet again, like he was still winning races, and then also not only that, like it like let's just say this, I would say like the rivalry like from 2007 to like 2010 or 11 or 12, whatever, definitely had to be Ron Hornaday and Kyle Busch.
Sure. But I look back, like you said, the Truck Series was really the vet series. Now it seems more like the feeder system, as it should be, to the Xfinity and the Cup Series. I look at names like Jack Sprague, Mike Skinner, Ted Musgrave, just the guys that have come before and paved the way for the young guys. I love the fact that the Truck Series is now a young man's game. I love the fact that the Xfinity Series is a young man's game. We talked extensively last year about the youth movement on the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. It's all well and good, but you can't. Oh God, how do I put this? I couldn't go out on my stepdaughter's softball team, hit 3 home runs, and go 4 for 5 and say I'm the greatest there is, because I'm not playing on my level. I mean, I don't understand why people don't understand that. If you have an 18 on your hat, you'll never understand it. If you root for any other driver, you're like, yeah, okay, Chris, I kind of get it now. I'm not taking anything away from him. The guy's ridiculously talented.
Yeah.
He's not ever going to be looked at as the greatest of all time.
But then not to mention, he also has a really good Truck Series team as well that has produced a lot of young drivers throughout the years.
Oh, absolutely. He is the, I'll say the 1A, the 1B to Junior Motorsports 1A. Junior Motorsports is pumping them out left and right.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, absolutely. But like you said, a fantastic win for Kyle Busch. A lot of action, not too many crashes. Mostly this whole weekend was clean racing.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you run it down for the kids, and we will go to Happy Sad's picks and points.
Okay, so results. Kyle Busch ends up winning the race, leading the most laps, 92 of 130. Johnny Sauter finishes second. Grant Enfinger third. Brett Moffitt fourth. Ben Rhodes fifth. Ross Chastain sixth. Austin Hill seventh. Harrison Burton eighth. Todd Gilliland ninth. Timothy Peters rounds out the top 10. Other notables, you have Tyler Dipple in 11th. You have Apollo Creed, a.k.a. Sheldon.
Thank you.
Apollo Creed, a.k.a. Sheldon, in 12th. Brendan Poole, 13th. Matt Crafton, 14th. Excuse me. Gustine, 15th. Anthony Alfredo, 17th. Stuart Friesen, 18th. Jordan Anderson, 19th. Parker Kligerman in the top 20. Jussie Little in 23rd. Natalie Decker, 24th. Spencer Boyd, 25th. Austin Wayne Self, 27th. Norm Benning, 29th. Josh Rayoum in 30th. And last but not least, Joe Nemechek in 32nd.
Well, I'll deliver my happies and sads real quick. Not a lot to say other than my happy is going to be Johnny Sauter. It's his second race in his new ride with ThirstSport, and he's making a statement. We both thought he was the odds-on favorite to win last year in the Truck Series, and Brett Moffitt came out of nowhere and just bludgeoned it and made it. And now, Brett Moffitt, no success. Was it the right move? Hey, one will never know. However, my sad is going to be Natalie Decker. Oh, what a rough day for that kid. 24th, no luck Jones. God, there's nothing more I can say. This young lady needs to have, I'll just say, a top 15 finish so people can get over the stigma of last place, 24th place. Nobody wants Natalie Decker to be the next Danica Patrick.
I do agree.
I'm glad you do. What's your happy and what's your sad?
All right, so my happy for this one, I'm going to have to go to Ross Chastain. I mean, back-to-back, finishing in the top 10 for Nice Motorsports. And, like I said, for a kid that, was going to get a full-time ride for Chip Ganassi, and now he's driving full-time for two teams this year, which, of course, he's driving for JD Motorsports in the Xfinity Series and then also on the side with Calling Racing. I think this kid is going to be a one to watch, in all three series this year. And I think if he can back up another top 5 or a top 10 in the Truck Series, I mean, he's that close to winning a race. But, great run for that kid, especially driving for one of the Nice Motorsports trucks. My sad for this one, I'm going to have to go with Stuart Friesen. I mean, I really wanted to see him run really good. I mean, last year was a breakout year for him, finished second a couple times. And I'm really hoping that this 52 Halmer Racing, aligned with GMS Racing, can get their first win of the season.
Oh, right. So real quick, we'll go to the picks, and then Corey will tell us the point standings coming out of Atlanta for the Truck Series. This one I thought would be closer. Wasn't even close. Corey took Kyle Busch as his lock. He finished first. He took Anthony Alfredo as his sleeper. He finished 17th. That's a score of 18. You divide that in half. Corey, your finish this week, a very respectable top 10 finish of 9th. Good job by you.
Thank you.
I took Grant Enfinger as my lock. He finished third. I took Kyle Busch as my sleeper. He finished first. That's a total of 4. Divide that. It's a second place finish for me, giving me the 1 point for the Truck Series this week, which I didn't think I would get. I did not think Grant Enfinger had what it took listening to that race. He came out strong. He really did. And good on him for helping me win this week. So now if you can give us the top 16 in points for the Truck Series, we will move right along after that.
All right. So in the Truck Series points, remember, guys, 8 make it into the playoffs this year. So if you look at the points, Grant Enfinger leads after Atlanta. Austin Hill with that guaranteed win is only 1 point behind. Ben Rhodes, 14 points behind in third. Johnny Sauter in fourth, 18 points behind. Harrison Burton rounds out your top 5, 24 points behind. Then you have Matt Crafton in sixth, Brett Moffitt in seventh, and then Timothy Peters gets that last final spot in eighth. And then notable guys that are outside that top 8, you have Stuart Friesen, you have Apollo Creed, a.k.a. Sheldon. You have Todd Gilliland, Spencer Boyd, Austin Wayne Self, Gustine, Brendan Poole, and Josh Rayoum.
Okay. Very, you know what? I'm digging the Truck Series more and more since we started doing this show. I know it drives people nuts, but hey, it's fun racing, man. You want to see the stars of tomorrow? Watch a truck race. And now we're going to talk about the Xfinity race that happened on Saturday as well. And oh, good God, they could have just named this the Christopher Bell race. Seriously.
I honestly agree on this. And honestly, I have to tell you, I got to tell you, Christopher Bell just put on a clinic on Saturday. He was just not only that the class of the field, and not only that, what's also good about this race is there wasn't a lot of cautions. I mean, you had the 2-stage cautions, and then John Hunter Nemechek bringing out that last and final caution that set up the field for the restart, but. It just goes to show you that, for a guy that's won 8 races last year as a rookie, loses the championship, now he's going into year 2 in Joe Gibbs Racing. And I thought to myself, all right, somewhere along the line, Christopher Bell is going to win a race. I don't know where, though, but, somewhere he's going to start winning, and then this is going to be the team to beat. Well, he ends up finishing in the top 5 at Daytona, good run, goes to Atlanta, just flat out dominates and, wins the race. And, Atlanta's just one of those racetracks where, if you're a dirt racer and, you slide the wheels off your car and then, you get a really good bike coming out of the corner. I mean, that's just, it was basically what Christopher Bell does, not only on a dirt race, but, but mostly on racetracks that are like so worn out and so bumpy that, that you're basically just, slip and slide like all around the racetrack within like a second or so forth. But, great win for Christopher Bell. And I really expect this team to be the one to beat this year for the championship.
Oh, without question. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, as we move forward in our, whatever you want to call it, picks, points, or whatever, I was disappointed in a lot of different drivers in this race, and one of them being John Hunter Nemechek with that last caution. I thought he really did have a car that could do well. Wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire, but then again, when you look at Sunday's race, and we'll talk about it after, there were a couple guys that had cars all day long. Larson, Harvick, Truex, battling up front all day long. When it got to the end, you saw a different cast of characters at the front. And I think that happened in the Xfinity Series too. Some guys weren't really good on the long runs. I think John Hunter was good on the long runs, but again, that late race caution just blew it for him, and I felt completely bad for him.
Yeah.
So let's get the finishing order, and then we'll go to happy, sad, picks, and points.
All right, so Christopher Bell ends up winning the race as he led 142 out of 163 laps. Cole Custer finishes in second, Justin Allgaier in third, Brandon Jones in fourth. Tyler Reddick finishes in the top 5, Jeffrey Earnhardt in sixth, Ryan Preece in seventh, Justin Haley in eighth, Noah Gragson ninth, and Austin Cindric rounds out your top 10. Then you have Ryan Sieg in 11th, you have Michael Annett in 12th, Brandon Brown in 13th, Ross Chastain in 14th, Chase Briscoe 15th, Greg Alden 16th, Garrett Smithley 17th, Jeremy Clements 18th, Alex Labbe 19th, John Hunter Nemechek in the top 20. You have Ray Black Jr. in 23rd, Stephen Light 25th, Chad Fincham, who surprisingly started second, finishes in 26th. Joey Gay finishes in 29th, Tommy Joe Martins in 31st, and then Jeff Green in 36th, and then last but not least, John Jackson in 37th.
Well, good for Jeff Green for not bringing up the back of the field once again. We picked on him enough last year. Let's hope that this is a new beginning for Jeff Green.
Yes.
Well, with the happies and sad, the happy I'm going to have to give to Jeffrey Earnhardt. What a fantastic finish for this young man. 6th place. He's starting to move in the upward direction. And I think the Xfinity Series should be where he focuses his time. I know he runs a limited Cup date schedule, but stay away from the Cup guys right now, Jeff. Stick with the Xfinity. The needle's moving in the right direction for you. And that 6th place finish is hopefully indicative of things to come. My sad, I just talked about him, John Hunter Nemechek. He started 10th, ran pretty decent all day, and that late race problem, well, can't avoid it. I'm having Corey problems right now. I got to burp every 35 seconds. This is not good. But now for you, my friend.
All right, so my happy, I'm definitely going to have to go with Brandon Jones, and back-to-back top 5s for this 19 team. they're off to a good start this year. I'm really expecting them, probably to get a couple top 5 finishes, maybe a win along the way. But this is a really good, talented kid. Drove for Richard Childress Racing for a number of years, and now this is a second year for Joe Gibbs. I really want to see something out of this 19 team this year. So my sad, would probably have to surprise some people, but my sad is definitely gonna have to go to Chad Fincham. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, he started second. And I think the reason why was because Xfinity qualifying, I think, was rained out. And so the field had to set by like owner points or something like that, because last year, you had the 42 team for Chip Ganassi, and it was kind of funny, like, how they said that Chad Fincham starts in second. And I thought to myself, like, wait a minute, like Chad Fincham, the guy that drives for Colorado Long Racing. Like, am I really like that surprised? I mean, like, is this, it's like the kid, like after the dentist almost, where he's like, oh, is this real life? And then, it's kind of like how Jeff Green finished in the top 10 last week, and I thought, wait a minute, Jeff Green finishes in the top 10, and he's driving for like a low-funded team. But no, this is something that that I'm really impressed by. Like, you see all these like low-funded teams that that are in the mix sometimes, and sometimes like they finish in the top 10, and they're like, wow, for a team that doesn't have a lot of pit crew guys and doesn't have like a shop that's big or whatever it is, what a performance that they got out of. But yeah, that's kind of my surprising sad for this little segment.
Understood. Now I'm going to go to the picks, and then you'll go to the points.
Mm-hmm.
The truck race, we were separated by 7. In this race, we were separated by 6. This is the second closest finish of the week. The closest finish is yet to come. So Corey took Christopher Bell as his lock. He finished first. He took Ryan Preece as his sleeper. He finished 7th. That gives Corey a point total of 8. You divide that by 2. Corey, your finish this week in the Xfinity Series is a 4. Very nice.
Thank you.
I took Ross Chastain as my lock. He finished 14th. I took Jeffrey Earnhardt as my sleeper. He finished 6th. That's a total of 20. And my finish, still inside the top 10, is a 10. Meaning that Corey gets the 2 points for the Xfinity Series pick this week. Very nice, sir.
All right.
Just keep raising those thumbs, man. No, hey, you deserve it. It's good. And you know what? When we talk about the Cup Series, one of us is going to go, wow, that's really good. And congratulations goes to the winner. So why don't you give us the rundown of the championship point standings as we go out of Atlanta on the Xfinity Series.
All right, so 12 making into the Xfinity Series playoffs this year, and it looks as if, we have our Xfinity driver playoff field set for September, hopefully. So we have Christopher.
Wait. You're saying that after the second race?
Well, I kind of look at it and I say to myself, this could be our field for September, but that may change because it may change, but you never know. But you never know. But
the floor is yours, my friend.
All right. So for the points, you have Christopher Bell leading the points along the way. You have teammate Brandon Jones 4 points behind in second. Justin Allgaier third. Tyler Reddick in fourth. Cole Custer in fifth. Just about 23 points back, and pretty much a 3-way tie for fifth in points between Austin Cindric and Jeffrey Earnhardt. Michael Annett with that guaranteed win is 8th in points, just 28 behind. You have Ross Chastain doing the whole double team thing, the whole Austin Cindric thing from last year. 9th, about 33 points behind. Ryan Sieg in 10th. Justin Haley in 11th, just 39 points behind. And then John Hunter Nemechek gets that 12th and final spot. And two notable guys that I want to read out of that could pretty much break into the Xfinity playoffs in September are Noah Gragson, just about 1 point behind the cutoff, and then you have Chase Briscoe, if I'm doing my math right. I think it's 11 points or 9 points behind the cutoff.
Okay, and those two guys you just mentioned, Gragson and Briscoe, I think will be in the Championship 12 as we go into September on the Xfinity Series. And again, it's early. I mean, any one of these drivers that we mentioned in the points could have 3, 4, 5 off weeks and they don't collect a win this season, it's the Jimmy Johnson syndrome, man. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then of course, you have you got Jeffrey Earnhardt, that's running a part-time schedule this year for Joe Gibbs Racing. And let's remember, guys, Earnhardt's not going to be in that car on Saturday because Kyle Busch is going to be in the car. And so once Earnhardt doesn't do his race on Saturday, then he's going to fall, I think, from 7th. I think like probably a couple points to like maybe 11th or 12th or so.
Okay, fair enough. So we move on to the main event of the evening. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series invaded Hotlanta. And wow, when you talk about guys in the beginning of the race, when everybody's talking about Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., nobody mentioned Brad Keselowski. Why? Because he was sick all weekend with the stomach flu, found his way to the front, and once he got out front, never let it go. And that was very, very late in the race. Fantastic win for Keselowski. To see him get out of that car pale as a ghost, it was heartbreaking. He was sweating. He just looked like any of you who's ever suffered from the stomach flu like I have. I'm sure, Corey, you've got it once or twice in your life. You are pale. You are sweating. You basically look like the literal Walking Dead. And that was Brad getting out of that car. So for him to battle back and get all the way to the front, he had a backup driver waiting. Never had to use it. Brad went out there and did what he did as a champion and drove that car, drove his heart out, and got the victory. One of the things I took away from this race, and I'm going to ask you for your takeaways in just a minute before we go to the finish, the picks, the points, and all of the stuff that goes with it. I was most impressed with Martin Truex Jr. this weekend.
Yeah.
He's not my happy, but Martin Truex Jr., after a subpar performance in the Daytona 500, not his greatest, he wanted more, he should have gotten more. Martin Truex Jr. just drove his face off. That guy was so fast, and he was picking them off one by one, where I was watching guys like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson. They were, they weren't slow, but they didn't have the speed that number 19 car had this past weekend. Martin Truex, again, we talked about it before we went on air. If he had one more lap, Martin Truex wins that race. Or if he doesn't hit that bump in turn 3, everybody was afraid of, because he was catching Keselowski. I thought he had him at the end. If he doesn't get that bump and wiggle a little bit, I think we're talking about Martin Truex in victory lane versus Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, see, I thought so too. And, and I think what was it, like the last 7 laps, like, Truex closed in that lead, like, second after second after second. And then, of course, there was one part in the race, I guess he was complaining about, lap cars that were in the way and that, that was ruining his racing line or whatever. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Truex, he almost got him, he was, came up short, but one thing I also want to take away from the race is definitely Kyle Larson. I mean, that kid had a phenomenal car on Sunday. If not, I mean, I'd say he had like probably the winning car on Sunday. Just when you thought, you lead 142 laps and, you think that you have this race won, boom, then you get hit with a pit road speeding penalty. And it just goes to show you that, NASCAR gives you that little like 5-mile-an-hour mark. If you're way over that line, then guess what? NASCAR tickets you, and then you have to go to the back of the field. And I mean, yeah, he rebounds to a 12th place finish. I mean, not really the best run, but it's a good thing that he rebounded, especially coming from the back whatsoever. But the one thing I kind of learned is that, if Kyle Larson's going to be great on 1.5-mile racetracks this year, I think he's going to be the one to watch, not only at Las Vegas, but all of the 1.5-mile and 2-mile tracks we go to this season.
Oh, absolutely. And if you watch, if anybody goes back and watches any of the greatest hits highlights from this race, when Kyle Larson was either 1 or 2 and they hit that restart zone, he had so much speed on the restart.
Yeah.
They start at 65 miles an hour coming out of 4. They hit the restart zone. By the time he hit the line, he was already at 100 miles an hour. That's not a very long way to go. I know we all hear 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Kyle Larson was doing it better. That car was probably the biggest beneficiary of the new aero package at Atlanta. Kyle Larson had a rocket. he was probably, in my opinion, the second best car on the track, right behind the 19 of Martin Truex Jr.
I do agree. And then not only Larson, but I also thought Harvick had a good race car too.
See, I'm gonna disagree. Harvick had a really, really good race car. He didn't have a great race car. He had long run speed. But if you watch those restarts, Harvick restarts in second, third, fourth, sometimes fifth, and he drops back to 10th. The longer the run goes, Harvick's finding his way to the front, takes the lead. If he doesn't have, again, we're going to talk about the bump in turn 3. He's got a 1.1 second lead. If that bump gets, Larson passes him like he's standing still because it scrubbed 20 miles an hour off of the 4 car. That bump is no joke. And as a veteran and a multiple-time winner in Atlanta, Harvick should know this. You should run a little high coming out of 3, going into 4. He ran low. That was his line. That was his preferred line all day, was the low side.
Right.
But you know that bump is there. Stay away from the bump. Maybe run the middle line. But no, he stuck low. And you know what? I don't drive the car. I'm not going to tell Kevin Harvick what to do. I'm not going to tell any of these guys what to do. But if you know that bump is there, and you know that gets you a little wiggle, it takes the air off the car, and you're going to lose 20 miles an hour from going, what were they, hitting speeds of about $180?
Yeah.
Going into 3, and now you're $160, and here comes the rocket number 42 McDonald's car of Kyle Larson right behind you. Yeah, you need to be a little more careful.
I do agree.
I'll agree with you 80%. Harvick had a really good car. Could it have been a winning car? We'll never know because there were a couple others that were just that much better.
Right. And you know what's also funny is so if you think about it, so after the race on Sunday, there was only 36 cars that were running in the race on Sunday. Only one crashed out of the race.
Yep. And we'll talk about one of them before it's over and rotten. But I can't believe it. You know what? Let's save it because I texted you right after it happened. Garbage. Yeah. Just pure, utter garbage. A certain driver should not be allowed to race on the Cup Series again until he learns how to drive.
I do agree, and the one thing I want to take away from this, and I watched the replay too, and see, I don't want to blame it on both of them, right? I think this was kind of a driver error and so forth, because if you watch Ryan Preece's onboard, he's looking at the tachometer and he's focusing on the pit wall right here. So he's not focusing, straight ahead on pit road. So he's looking on the tachometer, wondering if he's not going below that tack or whatever it is and so forth. Next thing you know, he looks up, boom, it's too late. Because what happens is there's no time to react. He tried to slam on the brakes, and then, of course, he gets right into the 52 car of BJ McLeod. And the one thing I look at it, it's kind of like, driving in your own passenger car. So, let's say, you look off, you look down on your seat, for just one split second, then you look up, you see the car brake lights on, boom, there's, nothing you could do. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame Ryan Preece for that, and I wouldn't blame BJ McLeod. I want to say that was a racing incident. That was, something that, it shouldn't happen. But then yet again, if you look at it, the 52 car just kind of stopped, because he was trying to find his pit box or whatever, and Preece was coming out, and then he didn't realize that the 52 car was stopping. But, there goes the times where, you watch races. You'll get one of those, unusual moments, and you'll get one of those bizarre moments that you never seen, but it just goes to show you that, it just happens.
Look, when you go back to the replays that were played over and over and over again, the commentators said he was 8 pit stalls away. He cut too early. BJ McLeod, he pronouns, pal. BJ McLeod cut too early, right in front of Ryan Preece. Look, I get you. I was going to mention, being in your passenger car. Look, guys, if you don't know it already, Corey lives in one of the 3 worst states to drive in ever in the history of ever. Corey
True story.
Lives in Massachusetts. Now, if you've ever had the displeasure of driving up I-91 or on the Mass Pike, Massachusetts drivers close their eyes and use the force. This is not an opinion. This is a statement of fact. I can attest to it. I drive through Massachusetts minimally twice a month.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I take I-91 because there are less mass holes, and that's a real thing. People call them mass holes. We don't cuss on this show, but I can say masshole with an M.
Mm-hmm.
There are less massholes on 91 than there are on the Mass Pike. Worst, and don't get me started about 395/280 going into Worcester. I love Worcester. I spent much of my childhood in Worcester with my grandparents, but to get through not only 280, but if you go into Worcester to the cool places where you have to go through Kelly Square, you'll just want to rip your own teeth out with a wrench. It's that bad. But like you said, you look down, you're checking your speed, you look up, somebody brakes quick, you gotta turn out of the way. Professional race car drivers. Now, I'm not going to blame this entirely on BJ McLeod like I did on Sunday when I was texting with you. I think a lot of that has to go to the spotter. Your spotter is there to tell you where to go, when to go, how to go. They're basically your eyes, your extra set of eyes. They see what you don't. That spotter failed BJ McLeod. I still hold BJ McLeod responsible, but at the same time, whoever his spotter is has to stand up and take responsibility for that wreck.
So definitely it was pretty much spotter error.
Oh, yeah. So why don't you give them the finishing order, and we'll go to picks, points, and happies and sets.
All right, so Brad Keselowski wins the race. Martin Truex Jr. finishes in second. Kurt Busch finishes in third. Kevin Harvick fourth. Clint Boyer in the top 5. Kyle Busch rounds out 6th. Eric Jones in 7th. Eric Almirola in 8th. Chris Buescher in 9th. Daniel Suarez rounds out the top 10. Denny Hamlin rounds out 11th. Kyle Larson 12th. Brian Newman 13th. Paul Menard in 14th. Alex Bowman in 15th. David Reagan in 16th. William Byron in 17th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 18th, Chase Elliott 19th, Daniel Hemrick in 20th, Austin Dillon 21st, Ryan Blaney 22nd, Joey Logano 23rd, Jimmy Johnson 24th, Ty Dillon 25th, Matt DiBenedetto 26th, Bubba Wallace in 27th, Matt Tifton 28th, Corey LaJoie in 29th, Parker Kligerman in 30th, Ross Chastain 31st, BJ McLeod in 32nd, Ryan Preece in 35th, and then Michael McDowell 37th.
All right, why don't you give me your happy and your sad? Let you lead off this one.
All right, so my happy for this one, I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. I mean, for one of the JTG Doherty guys to finish in the top 10, especially for the driver out of Texas, I mean, really good run for this team. I really want to see a lot more out of the 37 bunch this season. My sad, of course, would definitely have to go to Ryan Preece. I mean, had a decent run, had that little pit road error, when he got hit by BJ McLeod he hit BJ McLeod and so forth, but disappointing run for that 40-17 team.
Sorry, I had to drop something on the ground.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you saw me drop something on the ground. If you're audio only, nothing happened. All right, I'm going to mirror your set. I'm going to go with Ryan Preece. Had a really good car, was running, in my opinion, really well. I think he might have had a top 10 car at different points during the race. I think he would have finished in the top half of the field. But again, that incident with BJ McLeod on pit road just basically took it away. I almost picked Chris Buescher as my happy. Again, this is a former, I think it was the 2015 season where he actually made the playoffs winning a rain short in Pocono.
Yeah.
So I almost picked him, but man, when you talk about battling the stomach flu and everything that goes with it, I'm taking Brad Keselowski, the official driver of Mark Azarju and the Azarju Mini Mansion in Montville, Connecticut. There's not a whole lot you can say. Anytime a driver goes in, and we've seen it over the years, at least once a year, somebody's sick, they don't think they can make it, they have a backup driver waiting, and what do? They go out and win the damn race. So that's my happy, Brad Keselowski. Now we go to the picks and the closest finish of the season in the picks. So we're going to start with me. I took Kevin Harvick as my lock. He finished 4th. I took Kyle Busch as my sleeper. He finished 6th. I took Paul Menard as my hopeful. That is right, hopeful.
Yeah.
You add that up and you get 24. You divide that by 3, and my finish was an 8. Corey took Kevin Harvick as his lock. He finished 4th. He took Martin Truex Jr. as his sleeper. He finished 2nd. And he took Chase Elliott as his hopeful, who finished 19th. You add that up, that's a finish of 25. Corey, you only lost by 0.33.
Wow.
Yes. one position would have been a tie. 2 positions would have meant you won. This might be, and we had one tie once in the history of us doing picks. This is the closest finish we've ever had, 0.33. So the 3 points go to me. Congratulations to me. Swig a beer to me. Mm-hmm. And now, on the point standings, Corey got 2 points for winning the Xfinity race. I got 4 points, 1 for the trucks, 3 for the Cup. That gives me 4 points. That makes the current season standings Corey 6, Chris 6. Advantage is even. 2 races into the season. I think we're going to have fun with this pick thing. I'm enjoying it so far. I know there's going to be a week where you just blow me out of the water and I'm going to have to work my way up the ranks, but I loved Atlanta. I love Atlanta anyway, but hey, what a great weekend of racing. But now we move on to Sin City and Las Vegas, Nevada at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Corey, let's start with the trucks. Tell them where they can see them, where they can hear them, and who's starting where.
Okay, so Friday night you have Friday night, the first day of March, you have the Gander Outdoors Truck Series Strat 200 at Las Vegas, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So that would probably be, I'd say, maybe 6 o'clock on the West Coast.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock on the West Coast. So 9 o'clock Eastern time on FS1. And then, of course, Sirius XM satellite radio channel 90, which, of course, oh my gosh, which, of course, you have the MRN network, the voice of NASCAR.
No, the voice.
Sorry, Chris.
they're the voice of NASCAR.
Yes. So looking at the entry list, so only one Cup driver is going to be running this weekend, and that is going to be Kyle Busch, the hometown favorite, driving the 51 Cessna Toyota. And I got to tell you, it's probably going to be another Days of Thunder performance if you think about it. But anyways, so
why is he going to wreck and lose his sight?
No, he's probably going to he's going to restart third, and then he's going to take the He's going to take the lead on the final lap.
Don't go to the high side, Cole.
So looking at the rest of the entry list, you have Stephen Parsons, who's the son of Phil Parsons, driving the 1 truck this weekend. You have Tyler Dippo in the 02. You have Apollo Sheldon Creed in the 2 truck. You have Jordan Anderson. You have Todd Gilliland, Corey Roper, Norm Benning, Corbin Forrester, Angela Ruck in the 8 truck for Joe Nemechek. Jennifer Jo Cobb. You have Gus Steed in the 12 truck. You have Johnny Sauter. Anthony Alfredo in the 15 truck for David Gill and Crosley Racing. Austin Hill in the 16. Ryan Reed is going to be back in the truck series for another David Gill and Crosley entry in the 17 truck this week. Harrison Burton in the 18. You have Spencer Boyd. You have Austin Wayne Self, Brett Moffitt, Brendan Poole, Josh Rayum. One of the drivers who was in the military, Jesse Owuji. Timothy Peters in the 44, Ross Chastain in the 45, Stuart Friesen, Natalie Decker, Matt Crafton, Jesse Little, Grant Infinger, and Ben Rhodes.
Wow, as much as I'd like to put Natalie Decker into either of my picks, because I just want the best for this young lady. She's probably the best female racer we've seen in years. I just can't. So I'm going to go with the guy who left the ride and the guy who took his ride. My lock this week is going to be Brett Moffitt. I think he needs a really big week to remind people, hey, guys, I'm the champ. I'm still here. And my sleeper is going to be Johnny Sauter. It's that simple. One left the ride, one took the ride.
There you go. So my lock for Friday night, obviously, of course,
don't say Kyle Busch. Come on.
Yeah, my lock is going to be Kyle Busch, and
you rotten jerk. Okay, go ahead.
And so my lock's going to be Kyle Busch, the hometown favorite. My sleeper, I'm going to go with Stuart Friesen. I really want to see this team do really well, lead a couple laps, and hopefully they can get their first win this season. And like I said, last year they had a breakout year. Finished runner-up a couple times, and I'd have to say, ever since this team aligned with GMS Racing, they've been running really good. And not so much of a great start that they've had for the first 2 races this season, but I really hope that this is a race on Friday that they can rebound and hopefully they can take home the win.
Stuart Friesen, again, we talked about him a lot last season, and what a tremendous competitor, what a great kid. You're right. He really needs a really good race to kind of reboot himself and put himself out there as a series championship contender.
Exactly. I do agree on that.
You really need to shave your face. It's bothering me. I'm kidding. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, the Xfinity Series is running this weekend at Vegas. Corey, where, when, how, why?
So Saturday you have the Xfinity Series Boyd Gaming 300, 4 o'clock Eastern time on the second day of March on FS1, and also Sirius XM Satellite Radio Channel 90, which of course the PRN, the Performance Racing Network, will be on tap for this weekend.
And that is the lead voice of racing, the Performance Racing Network.
Cute. But
anybody who's listened to this show more than once knows I am gritting my teeth when I say that. Like, yeah, the Performance Racing Network, the flagship, whatever.
Anyways,
gimmick infringement.
So looking at the entry list that I was looking at today, I believe there is 2 Cup drivers that are going to be running this weekend, which of course you have Austin Dillon in the 10 car for Colleague Racing, and then of course Kyle Busch in the 18 car this weekend for Joe Gibbs, of course, as well. Now looking at the rest of the entry list, you have Cole Custer, you have Michael Annett, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain in the 4. You have Justin Allgaier, Greg Gaulding. Zane Smith is going to be making his Xfinity debut. The former ARCA Series driver will be making his debut for Junior Motorsports this weekend. Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, BJ McLeod, Brandon Jones, Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, John Hunter Nemechek, Joey Gase, Josh Bilicki, Ryan Sieg, Jeremy Clements, David Starr, Brandon Brown, Morgan Shepherd, Jeff Green, and Chase Briscoe.
Did you say Noah Gragson in there?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard that. I'm just writing stuff down. Thank
you.
Just making sure that I don't pick someone who's not in the race and end up losing points.
Right.
All right, so why don't you start with the lock and the sleeper for the Xfinity race?
See, this one was kind of a little bit tricky, but I kind of just said to myself, so my favorite, I'm going to have to go with Kyle Busch because,
if I hear his name a third time in these picks, I'm shutting this show down.
So Kyle Busch is definitely going to be my lock for this weekend. No doubt that, you put him in an Xfinity car, which of course the all-time wins leader in Xfinity. He's just that tough to beat. No question about it. So my sleeper was kind of a tie on this one, but if I had to pick one, my sleeper, I'm gonna have to go with Brandon Jones. I really want to see what this team does this weekend. They've had 2 good runs the last 2 races. They finished in the top 5. They've been pretty much up there. But I really want to see this team perform pretty well, and hopefully they can get their first win.
Okay, fair enough. I want to make some points, man. So I'm taking the lock. Momentum. Christopher Bell. Dominant performance in Atlanta. Las Vegas is sort of a sister track, albeit a lot smoother, a lot cleaner surface. I look at that track and I see Christopher Bell written all over it. The sleeper is going to be Noah Gragson. Not the greatest year so far, but you know what? He's due for a really, really, really fantastic run, talking top 5 or better. The only way you can get better in top 5 is take home that checkered flag. So Noah Gragson will be my sleeper. Mark it down. I'm taking all of the races this week.
All right.
Probably not, but hey, it is what it is. Now, the main event, Sunday, which I'll be listening to on the NASCAR app because I have to bring my daughter home this weekend to the fantastic state of Vermont. Corey, where, when, how, and why?
All right, so Saturday you have the Pennzoil 400 for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. And then, of course, on Sirius XM Channel 90, the NASCAR Radio, which, of course, PRN, the Performance Racing Network, will be
the flagship of NASCAR broadcast anywhere in the history of ever.
Exactly.
God, that hurts.
And so looking at the entry list, you have Kurt Busch, you have Brad Keselowski, who's won at Las Vegas a couple times. You have Austin Dillon, you have Las Vegas winner Kevin Harvick, you have Ryan Newman, you have Daniel Hemrick, you have Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Dillon, Clint Boyer, Ross Chastain, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Paul Menard, Joey Logano, William Byron, Corey LaJoy, Michael McDowell, Matt Tiff, Chris Buescher, David Reagan, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, Jimmy Johnson, Cody Ware, BJ McLeod, Joey Gase, Alex Bowman, Matt DiBenedetto, and Parker Kligerman.
Okay. Well, I hate to say I'm hedging my bet here, but kind of hedging my bet here. Lock and sleeper are going to be the hometown boys. My lock is going to be Kyle Busch. Yes, one of us had to do it. My sleeper is going to be Kurt Busch. These are hometown boys. These are guys that know how to get around this racetrack. You know, you come up, and when they introduced Las Vegas Motor Speedway, everybody thought these guys would be the class of the field, and they always run well at this track. My hopeful might be my hopeful every week from now on, because picking him to be my lock just kind of seems narcissistic and hometown boy, like saying the Red Sox are going to go 162-0 for a Red Sox fan. It's like me saying the Yankees are the favorite before spring training for the World Series. So my hopeful is going to be Kevin Harvick.
All right. So my lock for this weekend is going to be Kyle.
Go ahead. You run.
But see where I'm going to go with this? So my lock is going to be Kyle, but it's not going to be Busch, though. My lock is going to be the other Kyle, which, of course, is Kyle Larson.
Way to go with the curveball Jones. I love it.
Yeah. And it just goes to show you that after running really well last week at Atlanta, which is a mile and a half, it just goes to show you that, you know, I think this could probably be another Kyle Larson race. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, this kid knows to drive the wheels off on a mile and a half track.
I got to ask you, because they put that graphic up during the race, I'm sure you saw it, who is going to be the first to eradicate their long non-winning streak? Don't want to call it a losing streak, but who's going to eradicate their long non-winning streak? You're basically going on a limb right now and saying that it's going to be Kyle Larson that breaks the non-winning streak this weekend in Las Vegas. Because they had some really big names up there, Jimmy Johnson being one of them. There were quite a few great names up there. But, you know, I think Kurt Busch was up there, too. He haven't not won since...
he hasn't won since Bristol last August.
Right. So it's now... Well, he was the low end of the totem pole of the big guys. So, you know what? Kyle Larson, great pick. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but... Gosh, I was surprised by that pick. I seriously thought you were going to pick Kyle Busch all the way down the run.
Everybody thought I was, but see, sometimes I can hit a curveball. But
do you have a Kyle Busch gimmick behind your head right now, YouTubers? Can we look? Does he have Kyle Busch up there?
No, I don't have it up there. Unfortunately,
I'm very surprised by that. Unfortunately. We're gonna have to renegotiate your contract and pay you less.
More like pay me more.
Moving on. Sleeper.
Anyways, moving on. So my sleeper for this weekend. I'm gonna go with Daniel Suarez. I really want to see what this team does for the 41. You know, had a decent run. You know, finished in the top 10 this past weekend, and I really want to see a lot more out of this 41 team. Yes, I'm still questioning the fact that, you know, they picked him to be their driver, but I really want to see a lot more out of this 41 team this year. And my hopeful for this weekend, quite honestly, I'm gonna swing another curveball on this one, but I'm gonna go with the 21 to Paul Menard. I really want to see. I really want to see what the Wood Brothers Ford can do this weekend. And quite frankly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this team won a pole last year. I think at like Chicago or something like that. And it just goes to show you that, you know, the Fords, you know, they're pretty fast, but I really want to see what this 21 team can do this year.
Well, when you consider last week, again, I say Atlanta and Las Vegas are sort of sister tracks. The configuration is nearly the same. There's a couple tweaks and turns that are different. But Paul Menard, while not being overly aggressive or overly, he wasn't one of those guys you heard his name all day. A 14th during that race with the new package, pretty respectable. You finished in the top half of the field, had a pretty fast race car. That's a fantastic pick. The Wood brothers have a way of surprising people every now and again, whether you go to Trevor Bayne or Dale Jarrett or any of the wonderful guys that have driven for the Wood brothers over the years in that 21 car. You want to go back so far as, I want to say, 1993, where someone who you never thought was going to win a race won the Winston, as it was called back then. Now it is the All-Star race.
Right.
Michael Waltrip. And he went on to win a handful of races, some of the bigger races in our lifetime, some of the most tragic races in our lifetime too. But the Wood brothers know how to build a great race car. Now, I don't know who does their engine packages, but the 21 car is always fast. Consider the fact that Trevor Bayne won in that car.
Yeah.
Again, you can put a great car underneath a nominal talent and they'll find their way to the front. Paul Menard has won with RCR. Paul Menard has found his way to the front with the Wood brothers. He's done well, semi-well, wherever he's gone. Here's a guy with heart and determination, and I picked on him. I told this story years ago about New Hampshire Motor Speedway in 2011 when my good friend Chad came out from Indiana, and we walked through Merchandise Alley, or as I call it, Gimmick Village. And there's the Paul Menard T-shirts and whatnot, and Chad says, "Who buys Paul Menard T-shirts? Does anybody like Paul Menard?" And I said, "No, Paul Menard's mama buys Kevin Harvick stuff. She doesn't buy Paul Menard T-shirts." And the next week in Indianapolis, he won.
Yeah.
So Paul Menard has what it takes. I always thought he was that daddy's boy who used daddy's money and mama's good looks to get where he was. But no, Paul Menard is showing a lot to me in the last 2 seasons. That's a fantastic pick on your part. Couple that with the Wood brothers, it's easy. It's a layup.
And to answer your question, where the Wood brothers get their engine package, I believe it is Doug Yates that does the whole engine package for not only the Wood brothers but also for Team Penske and Ford Motor Company.
Okay, so guys, if you're new to racing, if you've only started in the last few years, when you hear that a car has a Yates engine underneath it, look out. Yates engines are top of the line. Better than Hendrick, better than any other team. Yates knows how to build engines that run fast with the doesn't matter what body style you have on top of you, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, what have you. Even back when the Dodges were running. If you have a Yates engine, you have a shot at that checkered flag.
Oh, no doubt.
So, Corey, now's the time. I'm going to give you the opportunity to pimp, plug, or otherwise push the people onto what you want them to find this week.
So keep following us on the C+J Speedway Review. We are at Facebook. Make sure you look us up. Make sure you like us and follow our page. YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get our notifications when we upload, update, upload, and post our videos on YouTube. Make sure you guys make sure you guys recommend to friends to subscribe us and follow us. And, we need more subscribers. Anybody who's a NASCAR fan out there, just get us out there, whatever you do. So Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway. And then Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And then, of course, keep following the Rowdy Burns social media group. So I put in my social media name. This time it is on Snapchat. So that is my Snapchat name on the screen. If you guys are watching, I am at Rowdy51K1 Racer 1. That is my Snapchat name. And a couple shout outs. So I posted on my Instagram page. So my personal Instagram on RCR Fan 3. 63 people saw my story on my Instagram story for the C+J Speedway review tonight. And so one little shout out I want to give out to, and my friend Isaiah Lauren Shell. who I usually call Russ Wheeler, and
Lord.
it was actually funny because I kind of called him out a little bit this past weekend in a joking way, and so I really think he's pretty much the next Russ Wheeler in my book. But the problem is he hasn't raced me quite yet, and for a guy that's probably drove the 18 Hardee's fried chicken car, and I probably drove the 51 Exxon mobile cart, which probably I'd say like, the Exxon Mobil car is pretty much bad to the bone. So Isaiah, if you're watching this right now, I want to say hello, and you better get your butt to the go-kart track and race me sometime, because I'm still waiting on that race, and I'm not gonna shut my mouth until I get my first race, until I end up racing with you. But yes, folks. So next Sunday, I am going to be at Apex Entertainment Center in Marlborough, Massachusetts, racing in the St. Patrick's Day Grand Prix. I don't know if I'm going to be wearing green or not, but I'm probably going to wear something maybe green. So you might
stop. Do you not know the racing? What do they call it? It's a taboo, superstition that green is a bad color on a race car, unless your name is Bobby Labonte.
I've heard it.
Okay, go ahead and wear green. See what happens.
But anyway, so that's kind of where I'm probably going to stick to it. But Isaiah, I'm still waiting for that race, and then also I want to give a shout out to CJ Bassett, who is also a huge race fan as well, in which of course I also call CJ's nickname the Bandit, from of course Smokey and the Bandit. So
way too many nicknames going on here.
I'm still waiting on that. I'm still waiting on your race too, and for a guy that's driven the 33 Skull Bandit car, or whatever cart you have possible. But Bassett, I'm still waiting on my race too, and I'm not going to shut my mouth until I get my race as well. But so yeah, that's kind of my little fun part, at the end of the show, who I kind of give some shout outs to, and I kind of pick at, for anybody who wants to race me and so forth.
Well, I look forward to turning you in turn 5 on these fantastic K1 road courses eventually.
I'm so scared.
Dude, I would spin my mother to win a race. I am not kidding. But as far as the pimps, plugs, or otherwise pushes, we just recorded bumpers for the second episode of My Journey with Music, which is my personal mixtape of life. Hopefully you guys heard the first one and enjoyed it. If you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts or Anchor FM. We do have to mention Anchor FM /CJ Speedway Review. Please go visit that and help the show out in any way you can. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts for this show. If you like it, leave 5 stars. If you don't like it, hell, leave 5 stars. Lie to the people. Tell them what you want to hear. Just tell us that you're listening. And we're going to move this show onward and upward. Just 2 nights ago on a special Monday night, we recorded the Loki and Jabroni show. If you haven't heard it, this man, Joey Casada, he of the book Start With a Dream, 482 pages of rock and roll, professional wrestling, marriage, death, heartache, triumph, whatever you want to call it. He was a fantastic guest. If you have not heard that, go find it on the YouTube channel of the Loki and Jabroni Show, or on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you steal your favorite podcasts from. It was a fantastic interview. Eddie and I had so much fun. Couple personal shout outs. One to my daughter, who should be in bed but is probably watching. Hello, Emma. How are you? One to Loki, Michael Smith, who is usually my partner in crime on the Loki and Jabroni Show. He of the stomach flu this weekend, so he was not with us. So Loki, hope you're feeling better. Can't wait to have you back in your big chair this coming Tuesday night when we do the Loki and Jabroni Show. And also, since Corey forgot, since he does not love her, I'll say, hi, Chelsea. How are you? We're thinking about
Chelsea,
you.
I love you.
Corey does not care. He didn't say anything about you this whole episode. I had to do it. And basically, Chelsea.
He's lying.
Chelsea, if you're watching, the lawsuit includes you too.
Don't worry, Chelsea. He's lying.
Gimmick infringement.
But anyways, one little funny story on this is so Chelsea was telling me that I guess her mom and her stepdad are taking care of these 2 cats while these people are going away until like May or something. And I kind of thought, well, that's kind of a long time for somebody to go away and all that. So this is the funny part to this. So the two cats that Chelsea's taking care of, and I think she's probably listening to this right now. So the two cats she's taking care of, one's name is Stormy, and then you'll never guess this one. The other cat's name, that's what else I thought too. And when she said the cat's name was Stormy, that's what I kind of threw into. I said, "Are you sure the cat's last name's not Daniels?" But don't worry, folks. This is a family show. But anyways, now the second cat's name, you'll never guess this one, and no, it's not Daniels. The second cat's name is Loki.
No kidding.
No.
Wow.
I'm not kidding either. When she said that, I said, "Oh, looks like we already know where Loki is."
Yeah, right. Wasn't here Monday night. He's up in Bum Stuff, Massachusetts, eating food out of a bowl, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's always a pleasure having you along, whether you're on the YouTube channel or you are on audio only. Once again, follow us wherever you can follow us. Share it with your friends. If you know someone who likes NASCAR, loves NASCAR, eats, sleeps, breathes, and poops NASCAR, this is for fans, by fans, and we'd love to have your feedback. So, question of the week. We haven't done this in about, I'd say, a half a year. Question of the week. We are not going to answer this. We want you to answer it. Leave it in the comments below on this video or do it on our Facebook page. If Kyle Busch reaches 201 wins, is he the greatest of all time? We want your opinion. You've heard ours. Now it's time for your opinion. So, as we wind this down, Corey, give them the most famous 2 words in motorsports podcast history.
Good night.